All right, there's the credits. Okay. These two Chronicles plus Conquered. I gotta say, for my overall thoughts on this game, I like this one as well. For some crazy reason, and like, I still don't quite understand it myself, but for whatever reason that it is, I just find this game enjoyable somehow. And it really is against all odds because it's so far out of my comfort zone. The whole game is it's just outside of my style of what games that I like. And on top of that, like, the combat is I'm gonna use a charged description here, but very one-dimensional. So when you put all of these things together, the obvious thing to think here would be, okay, I'm not gonna like the game, but somehow against all odds, I like the game. And it's kind of crazy that all of that combining into each other creates something that I like, when against, like, everything to just say that I don't. But that's really cool for me. Into the story, I thought the story was kind of, I guess, kind of simple, and maybe kind of not very complex, which, can be an artifact of it being an older game. But I do wish there was a little bit more, well, just more given to the story. It's a pretty simple task of, you have all the books now, so give all the books to the statues, and then go to the shrine, save the goddesses, destroy evil. And there's really not that much in between. Not too much. But all in all, there's nothing wrong with that story. I was just hoping for, a little bit more out of that. Did it feel complete? Since this is like a continuation per se of Ys 1, it's just kind of like completing that story. I would say that it does feel complete, but there are some caveats here, some very big caveats. First one being, how is Daliz and Zava still alive? That wasn't explained at all. Maybe I missed that explanation somewhere, but they shouldn't be alive because I killed them already in Ys Origin. And that actually might be another thing, is I feel like Ys Origin was definitely things that happen. What the heck happened with that? Things that happen in Ys Origin, those conclusions and things like that, they definitely feel disconnected from Ys 1 and 2. There's a lot of callbacks, and there's a lot of continuation, but some of those continuing things don't actually make sense, or they don't get explained, such as Daliz and Zava still being alive, and then the other thing, like, how did Adol actually get to Ys from the top of Darm Tower? I'm kind of confused about that. And then at the beginning of the game, why is all of Adol's items gone, but all the books not gone? You know, that's one of those like game design and story disconnects that there needed to be like something in place to fix, you know? Um and then I guess there's some questions that I can't have answered yet because I didn't play all 3 playthroughs of Yee's Origin, such as Dark Fact and things like that. But yeah, there's that. You can't answer that one either. You feel that if that was answered, it would be answered in Origin, though, being a prequel that was made much later. The Yee's demons makes sense, and you think that was touched upon in Origin, but not Zava or Dallas. Yeah, the demons do make sense in this game, because in Origin they say like this is only a permanent solution to, seal magic or whatever into the pearl, and that they would go to sleep, blah blah blah, and they would reawaken again someday. So they did explain that. It's just what was Zava and Dallas in Origin just supposed to be an Easter egg or something like that? I don't know. I don't know. Let me see. What gameplay elements stand out? The magic system is very nice. I'm a fan of the magic system. Getting to talk to demons, teleport to towns, etc. Are very enjoyable additions. I really like the versatility of the magic system in this game, and it opens up a lot of doors that weren't in the first one. And so I was very appreciative of just having those different avenues. The combat is distinctly different from Yee's 1. Significantly reduced threat using sword, bosses are immune to sword, and more health items could be considered easier by a larger degree. This was a weird thing to encounter. Yee's 1 had the combat system was pretty one-dimensional. You hit an enemy head on, you're going to take damage, but you're going to deal damage back. If you're slightly off center or you're attacking from one of the sides of the back, you don't have that risk immediately, at least from the first hit. They can reposition themselves, yada yada, this and that. This game doesn't have any of that. I've attacked enemies head on several times. More than several times. A lot of the time, most of the time. And there were no repercussions for it. It looks like they changed the attack system for the enemies so that they throw out an attack every so often. And as long as you're attacking them, they're stun locked and they will not throw out an attack. So that really reduced the we'll call it skill, even though it's not really skill, but it reduced some skill in positioning and kind of working around the parameters that you have for doing damage in Yee's 1. And I think it's a strange choice. It was probably done that way to make room for magic, but it's still kind of a strange choice. Dungeons. There's a practical dungeon design issue with this game. And that's in the sense of, if you're going to have a shrine to worship somebody, you're not going to have a lot of dead ends that lead nowhere, do nothing. It's going to make sense for the use it's designed for. And this game suffers from not having a facility that makes sense for the use that it's designed for. However, there's not a lot of like temples and things like that you're going to. It's mostly like mines and underground secret, I don't know, temples or something like that. So it's not like a big part of the game, but those particular instances do stand out to me. For miscellaneous, some of the music was actually really, really nice. So thumbs up for that. The title music is not something that I like at all. I like the visuals. I like the graphics. I like the enemy variety. I don't think I saw a single recolor of an enemy, which is kind of unheard of for a game that came out in this time. Like even Pokemon, or not Pokemon, like old school Dragon Quest games, Final Fantasy games like Dragon Quest 1 or Dragon Warrior 1, Final Fantasy 1, like there's recolors all over the place. This game doesn't do that. So props to this game for not kind of getting sucked into that trope, I guess. I don't know. There's no voice acting. Replay value. I don't think there's any replay value in this game. It's linear, kind of. So there's that. Let me see. The one thing that I wrote down that I disliked about this game is the bosses are more tricky to damage, but are less threatening, ? Magic doesn't supplement the sword, but instead replaces it for bosses. This was changed for the last 2 bosses, which I think is not very good design. This game trains you to use magic the entire game for bosses and sword to kill all the normal enemies. And I think the best way to not make that happen is to make things work in tandem with each other. So your sword is going to do damage, your magic is going to do damage, and you use them both to accomplish the same thing, no matter what you're trying to kill. But instead, this game kind of conditions you to use one or the other, basically. And yeah, you can use magic on normal enemies, but the problem comes in that the challenge is the bosses. And so when there's no indicator, as far as I'm aware, that you cannot use swords on bosses. So in a situation for me, it didn't take very long, but it took longer than it should have for me to understand that swords will not do any damage to the boss, and I have to use magic exclusively. And I think the biggest issue with that is that I don't feel like you're encouraged to use magic in like the regular demon fights. And it's much more efficient and it's quicker to use your sword. And you're probably going to be doing more damage with your sword anyways. So in essence, you're going through the game just swinging things with your sword, and then you come across a boss. You have to completely change your play style to fight that boss. And I think that's the wrong direction to go for the design of how you want to do bosses. If you do want to go that way, you need to condition the player for both play styles. But the problem lies here in that Ys 1 was sword only. And so they kind of flip-flopped on Ys 2. And I think that goes down a dangerous path. So that was pretty much the only dislike that I had. It became it was kind of hard to change my thinking for the last 2 bosses to go sword. They told me to go sword, but I had never fought a boss with my sword up until that point. So it's that's just kind of the things that I'm thinking about when, you know, I reach that point, if that makes any sense. And for the very, very last thing, if the developer is watching, somehow against all odds, I like this game. Truthfully, I would prefer a more interactive combat system. However, I do feel that the combat system in this game could remain the same as long as other tools and systems are implemented to make, I guess, other aspects or maybe expand upon the combat in different ways. I highly doubt they're going to reuse this combat system for the rest of the series, but if they do, I won't necessarily be bummed by that because it's not too bad. So I appreciate this game, though. It's one of the oldest games that I've actually played, I think, if not the oldest game. Ys 1 and 2 Chronicles or whatever. But yeah, overall, pretty good game. All those people on Steam that say that, you know, this game's not that good, I'd say you probably didn't give this game that much of a chance, or maybe you're just not into it. I don't know. Everybody's got their own taste. But anyways, it is 9 o'clock. I need to get some sleep. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow, 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific. Or something. See you then. Peace.